Welcome to Call Frost First, Illinois Injury Law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Call Frost First, Illinois Injury Law with Kevin J. Frost. Kevin is the managing partner of Clark Frost Zucchi and a trial attorney representing injured individuals and families throughout northern Illinois. He has secured multi-million-dollar settlements and verdicts in cases involving wrongful death, trucking accidents, medical negligence, and serious workplace injuries. My name's Sean O'Connor, and today Kevin and I are talking about who can file a wrongful death claim in Illinois and how these cases work under state law. Kevin, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Sean.
Wrongful death claims, it's complicated, I know, but under Illinois law, what qualifies as a wrongful death claim?
Well, Sean, under Illinois law, a wrongful death is clearly when someone is fatally injured, caused by the negligence of another. And so that's the obviously the most qualifying factor. And then a specific wrongful death case has rules as to who can actually bring about the cause of action, the claim, or the lawsuit in a wrongful death setting.
Who's allowed to do that?
The surviving spouse can bring a lawsuit under wrongful death as a beneficiary. If there is no surviving spouse, it can be the next of kin. So it could be adult children, it could be siblings, anyone that has under the laws of intestacy, a beneficial interest as a result of the loss of the decedent.
Mm-hmm. Would that be I'll say legal partner kind of a thing?
I'm sorry?
Would if you were a legal partner, maybe it's they're not married technically, or
no, I don't think in that setting it has to be truly someone that would qualify under the rules of intestacy as a next of kin. So you'd have to have some sort of family relationship.
I got it. What about the role of a personal representative or special administrator? How do they work in these cases?
Yeah, in Illinois, a wrongful death, let's say it's filed by the surviving spouse. The surviving spouse would be named as the special administrator. And again, if there wasn't a surviving spouse, it could be an adult child could be named as a special administrator. A personal rep setting takes place when there is a survivorship claim, and that then passes through probate. A wrongful death case passes outside of probate and is not part of the estate of the decedent, whereas if there's a survivorship claim, that passes under the probate rules and the probate laws, which they can be different and they can be conflicting.
If multiple family members are affected by the loss, how are the claims handled among the surviving spouses, children, or the next of kin?
So there would still just be one wrongful death claim or one wrongful death lawsuit that would be filed, and the family members would each be, in a wrongful death setting, would each be or could be a beneficiary of that one claim. In determining, everybody wants to know, well, is it equal? And it really is not. The judge determines what's called the degree of dependency. So, and there are a multitude of factors that go into that, such as, the primary one is, what is your relationship like with the decedent, right? If you have, 3 adult children, one lives in Hawaii and hasn't talked to their mother or father in 6 years, it will be different than an adult child who was either seeing or had a relationship and was contacting their parent on a daily basis.
Related to that, Kevin, if let's say I lost, my parent, my mother and father and younger sister were in a fatal car accident caused by another. Is a determination made that, I'll just say, like in sort of monetary, levels or something, amounts, are they going to weigh the death of my father or mother more than that of my sister if I'm bringing the suit?
Yes, some of the factors that are determining in the value of a wrongful death decedent would be such things as, what do their future earnings look like, right? So if your sister was, in her 30s, had an MBA, that would be a factor. If she had a job where she was making several $100,000 a year, her future earnings would be a higher number than, let's say, somebody that has a high school degree and is working, a job in a different market. So yes,
Interesting.
the wrongful death cases look at the factors of what are the future damages that the loss of society, the loss of companionship, and the life expectancy of one plays a role. So if your parents are older,
Yeah.
and their life expectancy is 10 years versus your sister had a life expectancy of 40 years, your sister's claim would have a higher value to the beneficiaries like yourself.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, I know we're talking about Illinois. What types of damages are available in a wrongful death case there?
Well, they're pecuniary damages, so it could be the medical bills, it could be funeral bills, um, grief and sorrow to the beneficiary, right? That's a huge factor, and again, as we just talked about, the life expectancy and the future earnings of the decedent would play a role if someone is relying on those benefits and those wages, and now it's taken away from them because of this death. That's a high factor that would go into the looking at the damages.
We're talking about wrongful death, but you also use the term survivorship. Uh, what's the difference? I mean, I'm assuming you're making a distinction on purpose.
A survivorship case is really one where, let's say, someone is in an accident and then they're suffering. They have undergo medical procedures, and let's say they're lingering on, and let's say they live for 6 months right after the accident or after the incident. So now you're looking at what is the value of the decedent's state. They died, but they also suffered themselves, right? So like they went through 6 months of pain and suffering, so that'd be a consideration. Maybe they lost their own wages when they weren't allowed to work for 6 months. So now you're looking at the value of survivorship, and those are basically damages that happen to them before their death. So they're the damages to the actual individual, and that's why it goes to their estate versus a wrongful death case. The dollar amounts goes specifically to the next of kin or family, and they can be the same, but they also can be different, because let's say in a survivorship case, you're now let's say there's a will involved and it's in probate. The person's estate could have said that they were going to leave half their estate to charity, right? So even though they passed away, and you can have both a wrongful death and a survivorship claim, but on the survivorship claim, that money does not pass directly to a surviving spouse or next of kin. It could pass to the United Way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting. We're talking about car crashes, just as examples, but I'm wondering about in situations involving fatal car crashes or workplace incidents. What are early steps that are critical to preserving evidence, assuming a case needs to be brought and things need to be proven, right?
Sure. Yeah, well, that's why it is important. I mean, obviously, you want to preserve evidence. You want to make sure that photographs are taken. You want to make sure the witnesses are interviewed. And the sooner that can be done, the better it can be for the claim, especially if there's some issue with liability, right? I mean, if it's a rear-end car accident at a traffic light, there's not a lot really in dispute. But it's more important, I think, to contact an attorney as soon as you are comfortable. Only because it just takes another burden off of you. If a spouse lost her husband, or a spouse lost their wife, they have a multitude of other problems to deal with, right?
Yeah.
After the death, and so it's nice to have an attorney that does this type of work on your side right away, to really just take that burden off of you, and just to give you some comfort that someone else is looking after your interests.
Yeah, I mean, of course, police get involved probably, and I'm certainly in a traffic situation where it's a public incident, and I've spoken to a lot of attorneys over the last few months around uh, securing, there's so much video footage now, right? And
Yes.
to have some of it gets erased, not for deceptive purposes. It's just a matter of how they manage their processes, and so you need someone to step in and say hey, we need you to preserve this footage, maybe.
Yes, that's always a factor, is making sure that if there is evidence or video footage to be preserved, that someone's able to either get it, or make sure that it's not taped over, spooled over, and disappears because no one had the wherewithal to save it.
I know you work with this in this realm and have for a long time. I'm wondering, without sharing any names, of course, do you have any cases, examples where, a wrongful death case turned on the fact that there was like early legal involvement? I mean, it kind of as we were just talking about, or
Yes, I was involved in a highway accident where unfortunately an individual got out of his car to retrieve something in the road, and there was a pedestrian and was hit by another vehicle as he was exiting the road. And one of the determinative factor in the case was we were able to get access to um, the black box of the vehicle involved,
oh,
and that was preserved. And so the speed of the vehicle, the braking pattern of the vehicle, the RPMs of the vehicle were used and were seminal in getting the case resolved because of the speed involved. Right? Everyone's like,
yeah,
well, how did X, Y, and Z happen? And once it was determined that the vehicle was traveling at a high rate of speed, it obviously put more negligence on the driver for driving so fast. And if we hadn't had access to that to the box and the electronic data, we would not have discovered that.
that's interesting. Yeah, I think of, when you say black box, I immediately think of airlines, airplanes
Yeah.
having, they talk about recovering the black box from the wreckage. And I understand commercial trucks have them, but do passenger cars have what would be called the black
Yes.
box?
Yes. So yes. Almost all passenger cars these days
The
have
new
a form
ones.
of electronic data recording where the information can be accessed and recorded with respect to, like I said, the speed of the
Yeah.
vehicle, the RPMs, the braking patterns, and whether a seatbelt was on. So
Oh,
there's
wow.
cars are a lot more technologically
Yeah.
advanced these days, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of sensors, and there is a lot of information that's used. I mean, not just in wrongful death settings, but in
Sure.
any wide variety of motor vehicle accidents.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, some of that's obvious and if you've been in a relatively new car recently, but yeah, that is interesting. There's things going on under the hood there that you don't know anything about.
Oh,
And
sure. I mean, some cars actually someone will come on over a speaker after an
oh yeah,
accident and say, "Hey, were you just involved in an accident? Do you need us to call 911 or the police?" It's pretty amazing technology.
yeah. Well, and maybe just could you bring a pizza because it looks like I'm going to be here a while. Oh, gosh. I shouldn't joke about it, but I'm wondering about, we're talking about the speed of capturing evidence. What about time limits in terms of, bringing a case? How can those deadlines affect a family's options? Is it one of those like the sooner the better situations, or there statute of limitations?
The statute of limitations in Illinois is still the same, whether it's a wrongful death or a personal injury. And so you have to look at the underlying factors. For instance, um, if it involves a motor vehicle collision, it involves a non-government owned vehicle, the statute is still 2 years to bring a case, whether it's a personal injury or a wrongful death. But you have to be careful because let's say you're involved in an accident with a city bus,
Hmm.
and that's a part of the government. In Illinois, the statute is limited to 1 year, right? So
Oh, it's
whether
shorter.
it's shorter. So
Hmm.
you only have 1 year to get your case on file or get it resolved. So that's why the sooner the better. You don't want to miss that deadline.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why initially I was like, oh, in my head I was thinking, oh, a government vehicle would probably be uh, a longer window, but in fact it's the opposite. It's shorter.
It's the opposite, right?
Huh. Interesting. Why? Just because they want to
Yeah,
keep the
the government's immune from tort in general, so that's just
right.
another safeguard to be on the side of the government. I guess they write the laws, so they got
Right.
to cut it in half, right?
Yeah, yeah. The person who writes the contract has a little bit of advantage, I guess. Uh, well, Kevin, super informative. We're up against time, but thanks for sharing your expertise and point of view, and I look forward to future conversations.
All right, thank you so much.
You bet. Wrongful death cases involve legal complexity, as we've just discussed, but they also carry enormous personal weight for the families involved. So, if your family has lost a loved one due to someone else's actions in Northern Illinois, and you have questions about your legal options, you can contact Clark Frost Zucchi for a free consultation at their website, clarkfrost.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Sean O'Connor. And if this episode was helpful, be sure to leave us a thumbs up, maybe subscribe, or share a link with someone in your world who would benefit from this kind of information. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.